Quite a few surprising people sing karaoke. People like me who can't carry a tune worth a damn. But hey, not all of us can be suave and cool. Some of us have to just make a fool out of ourselves, right?
Welcome to the heart of the stories we tell. My name is Rob, and tonight I will be reviewing.
Episode 9 of the Orville. Cupid's Dagger instead of Cupid's Arrow. It's an interesting play on the concept. In fact, there's quite a few interesting things that happened. And for a show that really was pretty much advertised all week as just the guy Lily slept with is just back, boy, did we get a lot of really interesting stuff going on. Of course, before we go into this week's stuff, I do want to just address a few comments. First, big thank you to Storyteller for saying that my review was spot on. And second of all, I have to agree that this is one part National Lampoon's Vacation and one part World War Z. The entire idea of how they put this show together is entirely one part comedy, one part action adventure, and as such has landed in a spot where, like I said, it felt like me going to karaoke tonight, not somebody on Star Trek having a classic pianist. But at the same time, it still had the sci-fi zing. And as everyone here has said, this show is just amazing. Now, for those of you that don't know, what I'm doing here is trying to examine the stories, and I'm trying to grow this channel to make a whole community. So please give me a share, a like, and if you haven't already, subscribe. What I want to do is I want to build this up so that we can talk about all of the great stories that we see. Now, mostly I deal with comic book and sci-fi fantasy stuff, but I'm going to expand out. Right now, there's a lot to unpack about tonight's episode, so before I actually talk about it, I should throw this up there and then get started.
So once again, it's stop. Spoiler time. Ba-dun-dun-dun.
Last February, I did a whole month about why we tell love stories, and I got into the whole difference between love and lust. But tonight, Cupid's arrow, well, Cupid's daggers, according to the episode, Cupid's arrow is all about hitting someone and making them attracted to you. The idea of, actually, it's kind of creepy if you think about it's actually kind of rapey. Now, the episode itself does draw a rather stark comparison to what we're seeing a lot of in the real world. Where do you draw the line between aphrodisiac and just plain old date rape drug? I mean, seriously, if you're chemically inducing feelings in someone, at that point, you're pretty much mind controlling them. And as we've been talking about over in Gifted, seriously, mind control is some of the most messed up stuff. And I have to say, I'm very glad that the security officer took it seriously, because there was just a whole bunch of questions left, especially when the kids from the doctor came and said that she was affected. See, at that point, it's no longer just affecting the person who was directly exposed, but it was showcasing the fact that it was able to be transferred. Now, the doctor's been being sexually harassed by the pudding all year, since the beginning of the first episode, from my understanding. But now, she said something rather interesting. Once I gave him a chance, I liked him. And that's an interesting question. If someone forced you to give someone a chance, and then you fell for them, is that coercion? And at what point is the coercion not your fault, because it was under the duress and effect of someone else? But love as a weapon brings up all sorts of squickiness. And let's be honest, even at the end of the episode, even when the B plot, the actual main thrust of the story, was resolved, even that felt kinda date rapey, didn't it? And you have to remember, all of this is being put really in the position of the fact that we start off with two people who have committed themselves to each other, had a child, and as having a child, their relationship changed. Now, there's lots of people on the ship that we can draw comparisons to, especially with the fact that Isaac doesn't understand coupling at all. Pretty much everyone has some sort of weird relationshipness going on between them, but to actually have this sort of moment, and then the end of the episode, the bookend from the happily married couple to the fact that maybe Drool was in heat last time, maybe the whole divorce, maybe everything that happened was because of some sort of chemical interaction. It's kind of a messed up thought process if you think about it. But okay, enough about sex and enough about weird coupling things. Let's talk about the aliens for a minute. The first real hint is the makeup. Just look at these two species. Yes, they are different, but they're more similar than they are different. And yeah, I mean, part of that comes from the fact that there's a human actor underneath both. But just look at the coloring, look at the way they carry themselves, look at the way their clothing interacts. You can tell that they had some sort of shared ancestry, and I kind of liked that as their answer, even if it also came with the squicky date rapey thing. My biggest disappointment? We didn't go back to karaoke to hear the Lieutenant Commander sing. Several of you have said in the comments that you think they're leaving hints for later episodes. I hope that gets paid off in a later episode. In general, the show is still 100% going on the same theme. Technology has changed, relationships not so much. We're seeing the same sort of thing, and maybe the fact that this aired this week was a bit of a serendipity, a bit of coincidence that just worked out, because we have a whole bunch of sexual harassment stuff going on in the real news, and I don't want to really touch on that stuff because I think that's not really what we're here for. But in this story, we really got to ask the question of how pheromones interacted with people and whether or not someone is to blame when they themselves didn't mean to start that. But again, the sexual harassment angle has been on stage since episode 1. At least those are my thoughts. What are yours? Do you think that they played it well? Do you think that the intermix of the jokes were good tonight? And did you catch anything that I missed? If you did, let me know down in the comment section. For now, as always, I'm going to ask you to like and share and click that subscribe button if you haven't already. We're up to 70 subscribers from when I recorded this, and that's one hell of a community. But I get a couple hundred people watching these, so I'm hoping to build that up. When we hit 100, maybe I'll run some sort of contest for subscribers, give some sort of giveaway as a thank you. For now, I'm going to take the rest of the night off. I hope you have a good night, and thank you for walking with me through the heart of the sci-fi extravaganza known as the Orville.